Hi everyone. So I'd like to share a breath practice with you now. This is something that I learned from a teacher of mine, and it works with to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So for those of you who've come to my classes or practiced with me before, you know that I talk a lot about the nervous system and how we can recognise signs in the body of when our particular nervous system, especially our sympathetic nervous system state, is triggered. So just a quick breakdown for those of you who I haven't shared practice with before or not familiar with these terms. So we have a nervous system in the body, the nervous system, we call it the autonomic nervous system, where our body, we have physiological reactions to stimulus, and within the autonomic nervous system is the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is that where it's kind of commonly known as the fight, flight, or freeze response to a situation, to external stimulus. And you know, if you kind of, it's that thing of running away from the saber-toothed tiger. We developed it as a species to protect us from being hunted, from being, from threat. And it's very, very useful, obviously. You'll notice maybe that when you feel threat, your body will have released adrenaline. This will help you to either run away from a situation or to stay and fight the situation. Some of us have the response of freezing in a situation or to certain situations, and that's another response within that. But the body is very clever. It releases adrenaline to help us to respond to that particular event. Quite often we might have an overproduction of adrenaline. This might be caused by a particularly stressful lifestyle, one where we haven't taken enough time to rest and to kind of replenish our resources, and so we deplete the nervous system, and then eventually we might experience things like adrenal fatigue or what's commonly called a nervous breakdown, and these are all kind of our physiological response to too much stimulus, too much time in the sympathetic nervous system state. So our friend, the parasympathetic nervous system, is when we take time to rest. It's the rest and digest state. And again, we see this in nature, right? So a lion doesn't spend all its time hunting prey. It will hunt prey, eat it, and then it will rest or play or fornicate. And as a result of that, its nervous system will be in balance. Yeah, it runs away from threat when it needs to. It fights threat when it needs to. If something, if a lioness's cubs are threatened, she will stay and fight to protect those cubs. But she won't do it all the time. She'll sleep in between, she'll rest in between, she'll play with her cubs in between. And as a species, we have kind of maybe lost a little bit of that natural state of rest. We have these things called minds, which are really obviously incredible and intelligent and vast and expansive, and we know very few of us know really the capacity of the mind. And they're wonderful, glorious, marvellous things. But they can also be a bloody nuisance, and our thoughts can kind of stimulate and get in the way of our rest state. So sometimes we need techniques to help us rest. And one of these techniques is breathing. And so previously it was thought that the autonomic nervous system couldn't be controlled, that we just reacted to stuff like animals do. We just reacted to threat, react to threat in that particular way, and that we had no control over our reactions. Lots of research, scientific research, has been done in recent years, in the last maybe 50 years, looking at, in particular, like trauma, PTSD, and so on, finding ways of getting, sort of rewiring those neural pathways that we might have created or have been created because of a particular threat that we had once. There are ways that we can get in and kind of divert those neural pathways, or make a new path, and so that we can then learn to rest when we need to, learn to fight and respond when we need to a particular threat. So breathing is a fantastic way to do this. So if we can control our breath, you'll notice, for example, when you perhaps feel threatened, that your breath might get shorter. You feel that, that tingling, the adrenaline, and so on. So what can we do to manage this? Could we manage our breath? Which then could that help us feel more calm? Let's see. I have a couple of props here. I've got my blanket. Don't need it today because I'm very warm, but I like to have it underneath me, especially underneath my pelvis. And then I've got a little cushion to place underneath my head. If you've got other things that you like to have to support you lying down, then please feel free to take them. This practice can also be done seated. I'm going to demonstrate how you might do it lying down. So I have my cushion under my head, my pelvis rests on the comfortable blanket, and then my feet are on the mat. My legs are bent rather than long, to allow the belly and the diaphragm to relax as much as possible here. It also means that I can comfortably kind of relax the body. Okay, so I'm going to bring my hands around my rib cage, and the thumbs are going to point down towards the floor, and the fingertips are going to wrap around my side ribs. So if you're not sure where your side ribs, bring your hands onto your hips, slide your hands up your waist to your rib cage, and then you'll find your side ribs here. And then your elbows will be pointing out to the side like little chicken wings, and then let your elbows rest. Okay, and then just have your knees so that they're sort of comfortably about hip distance apart, feet are on the floor. And we're simply going to start to breathe in, and as we breathe in, we're going to direct the breath into the side ribs. So we're using our hands as manual feedback to send the breath into the side ribs. If you can, breathe in and out through your nose. If that's not available for you today, if you've got, a bunged up nose, don't worry, just breathe where you can through mouth and nose, or just the mouth. So I'm taking these breaths into the ribs, into the side ribs. And I'm seeing if I can slow down the in-breath to a count of 4 and the out-breath to a count of 5 or 6. So I'm not looking for the deepest, fullest breath. I'm not breathing down into the belly. You'll see that my belly is not moving particularly here. Instead, I'm breathing into the side ribs. And I can feel as I breathe in, the side ribs expand. And as I breathe out, I can feel them release away from my hands. Slow, steady, and subtle breath here. Now it might be that your body is desperate to take a big breath in. If that's the case, let it and let it out. And then come back to those slow, steady, subtle breaths. So this may feel a little uncomfortable. You know, it might feel like, oh, I'm not quite getting enough air in. I want to breathe deeply. See if you can stay with this breath beyond that place. Beyond that place of panic. And trust that your body will get enough oxygen. It will do what it needs to do. It knows how to breathe. If you're poorly and recovering or have a virus, that will be interfering with how you're breathing, the body's natural state of breath. So of course, this may not feel comfortable then. So I'd recommend this practice if you're if you're feeling well and are having no usual trouble breathing physiologically. However, if you know that you kind of struggle with breathing because of what's going on in your emotional or mental state, then it could be that this breath practice just allows you the chance to start to trust your body again, that it will get enough oxygen, that it will breathe enough. feel now comfortable enough to bring your hands away from the rib cage and rest your hands wherever's comfortable. You can stay here for as long as you like. When you're ready to finish your practice, then just gently bring some movement back into your toes, maybe your pelvis, your hands, and then roll over onto your favourite side. And keep your eyes closed for a few moments longer and just rest on your side body. Notice how your body feels. And with your top hand, just place the hand on the floor in front of your chest. Use that to help guide you up. And come to sit and find a comfortable place to sit, a place that feels comfortable for you. And perhaps before opening your eyes, just notice how you feel now. When you're ready, opening your eyes. Just take in the world around you. Okay, so this is one particular breath technique that I've been using for some time now and found it very helpful. So whatever I find helpful, I like to share. I'll be sharing some more. So if that one didn't feel good for you in any way, fear not. There is likely to be something that will help. Believing and trusting in that, I think, is also part of the process. Okay, part of the practice. Thank you so much, and see you soon.